Hi, my name is Nicole. Welcome to my channel, Travel to Money. In this video, I am going to tell you about the process of buying a house in Spain in 2022 and just a few new things about home buying that have come up since I purchased my first home in Spain back in 2018. I'll tell you about my current purchase and let you in on my upcoming plans for this new house. If you are new here, I have created this channel to help you learn about how to travel, adventure, and have fun on the road to financial independence. I have traveled the world, paid off a house in Spain, and I'm on a creative journey to financial independence. I believe the road to financial freedom can and should be fun. I hope you'll subscribe and join me on this journey, no matter where you are starting from. If you've watched my videos for a while, you probably know that I purchased a house in Spain back in 2018. If you haven't seen any of those previous videos, you can check out this playlist that is dedicated specifically to videos about home ownership in Spain. I have videos that walk you step by step through the process of a home purchase in Spain, renovating a house in Spain, and more. And today we begin the next phase of home ownership in Spain, which is the purchase of house number 2. So before I talk about the new house, let me give a quick recap on how I got here. I purchased my first home in Spain for just a little bit more than 19,000 euro, which at the time was about 25,000 US dollars. The home is a 3-story townhouse in a small town of 10,000 people outside of Valencia. The house is roughly 1,000 square feet, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, has 2 beautiful terraces with views of the mountains, and came furnished. What's the catch, you may ask? Well, the house did need a small amount of renovation, though it was completely livable. And the house is on a street that has about half of the homes owned by expats, and the other half of the homes are occupied by Romani families, sometimes referred to as gypsies, though I believe that term is considered to be derogatory, so let's stick with saying Romani people. I speak about this in some of my other videos. The street is perfectly safe, but maybe not the most desirable. It doesn't bother me when I get a house for $25,000. The other thing is, this street is the oldest street in the town, which means over time, as more and more of the homes on the street become renovated, the area is likely to develop in a positive way. Anyhow, I think that helps explain the $25,000 price tag. But before you get discouraged thinking that there are only cheap houses in Spain in imperfect areas, let me just fill you in. Maybe my house was $25,000, but in all the other areas of town, there are tons of places available for under $100,000, and many for a lot less than $100,000. Another thing to know is that prices vary greatly based on the region. The southern regions, as well as the region that Barcelona is in, are much more expensive. I don't know why the Valencia area is so much more affordable, but it's beautiful and it can be very cheap. On the street that my house is on in Spain, on one side of the house is a beautiful home owned by a local family. On the other side of my home is what they call a derelict. A derelict is a home that is in very poor condition, basically in shambles. Well, a guy from the UK purchased 2 homes on the street a few years ago, and this house was one of them. He began the renovation on it, having the front of the house redone and the front half of the roof redone. If you look at it from the street, it looks amazing, but if you look at it over my back patio, it's just a bunch of concrete walls without windows and doors. At some point, the owner decided he wanted to sell it rather than finish the renovation. Initially, when I heard that he had it for sale, I wasn't in a place to purchase it, and I think the price was different. However, recently, I heard that he was only asking $5,000 for it, and I just had to jump on it. Having access to the house next door will give me tons of options. If I wanted to, I could combine the houses, I could turn that second house into a garage, I can make it a beautiful home. In any case, it gives me more control of my own home, and I really like that idea. So how is this home purchase different than the home purchase in 2018? Well, mostly it's been the same, but there was one big difference. The owner I was purchasing from had purchased this house as a repossession. Just in the last year, Spain began enforcing a law saying that if an owner wanted to sell a house that they had purchased as a repossession, they first have to offer it back to the bank at the price that the new buyer would be purchasing it for. And the bank has to be allowed 2 months to respond. This is just a really big and unnecessary hassle, but it's something that you should know about if you end up looking into purchasing a house that was previously purchased as a repossession. I wasn't personally in a hurry in this case, but I could see why that would be a big turnoff to others who may be on a timeline. Other than that process, everything else has pretty much been the same. I have a great benefit this time though. I've been through the process before, so I already have my tax identification number and my bank account. My attorney has power of attorney to act on my behalf, and because of that, this time I didn't have to go to Spain to finish the purchase. All I've had to do is send a few emails to my attorney, and they have handled everything for me. Just this last Thursday, I closed on my second house in Spain while I was asleep in my bed in Florida. It just doesn't get much easier than that. And just so you have an idea, my total cost after taxes and fees comes to just under 7,000 euro, which is currently very close to 7,000 US dollars because the value of the US dollar has gone up recently, so that's a nice benefit as well. Like I was originally thinking when I bought my first house in Spain, you may be wondering about turning a house there into a vacation rental. At the time of my first home purchase, it was relatively easy to turn a house into a vacation rental. All I did was add it as a listing to Airbnb and off I went. The only additional thing I had to do at that time was to pay taxes on the income from the property rental every quarter. As was the case in most countries, Spain decided to get into the regulation business of short-term rentals a bit more and began requiring you to get your property registered, making sure that it meets minimum requirements. Then there are other steps that you have to take with each reservation. Honestly, it's a bit of a tedious process, so you'd have to have an available property manager who could meet guests regularly. I go over all the steps in a previous video, so be sure to check that out if a vacation rental is something you're thinking about. Like I mentioned before, I wasn't necessarily in a rush during this purchase. The main reason being that I won't begin working on the house until November at the earliest. One of my good friends in Spain is someone who will do a lot of the dreaming and renovation with me. He charges a very reasonable hourly rate and is one of the hardest workers I've ever worked with. Additionally, I was just talking to him about making the second bedroom in my house available on workaway while I'm there. What that means is that in my first house, I would offer that bedroom to a couple or a single person who is interested in a work exchange. They stay at the house for free and get plenty of free time to explore. And in exchange, they do about a half day of work each day with weekends off. So I think we might give this a try and see how it goes. We could end up with people actually skilled at doing certain construction jobs, or even just helpers that can be assigned to simple tasks. This is very similar to the woofing experience I had recently in Norway, where I worked on a farm for a few hours a day and was provided with a free room and meals during my stay. It's a great exchange if it works well for both parties. I'll be doing videos during the entire renovation process and will let you know how the workaway experience goes as well. I can't wait to get my hands dirty. My first house was mostly in good condition, and all we had to do was retile some floors and do other cosmetic work and decorating. But in this new house, we have to start by cleaning it all out, and from there we have a blank canvas. This house is a bit smaller than my current house, but the possibilities for what it can become are endless. I know when I get there, my friend as always is going to be asking me, "What's your vision?" That's what he asked me right after I met him when I was showing him my first house. And honestly, at that point, I didn't really know how to have a vision for a home renovation. Now that I've been through the process though, I can't wait to dream up a vision for this house and then watch it all come to pass. Maybe I should just turn it into a massive pool. If you have any ideas for what I should turn this new house into or what the decor should look like, be sure to tell me about it in the comments. If you have enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to join me every Sunday where travel and adventure build financial freedom. I can't wait to see where your dreams will take you.